Hey everyone, so I used to do SEO for 15 years actually. I've started in 2009, I think. I've been known for doing SEO, but I'm not going to talk only about SEO today. I'm going to talk about Claude Code. And if you're not using Claude Code all day, what the fuck are you doing with your life? If you're not spending $200 a month, you need to work on spending $200 a month on that subscription because you can really unlock a lot of things. And for example, you presented a really cool framework on optimizing for LLMs. I'll show you how you could potentially build these frameworks into these LLMs to do a lot of that work for you while still retaining some kind of human in the loop so that you maintain the quality as well. And I'll show some examples as well. My name is Gael Breton. I run a company called Authority Hacker. Taught SEO for the best part of the last 10 years as well, 15,000 customers and organic traffic all the way. So let's start from the beginning because I'm sure you guys heard about Claude Code, but like, how many people have used Claude Code? Like everyone, holy shit, okay. Let's see how far we can take this then. But it's basically, the way I describe it is like an AI with hands that can do things, not just return text. That's the difference between ChatGPT and using Claude Code is like, it doesn't just give you a piece of text that you have to copy paste into whatever format you have. It will log onto that tool, it will do the work for you, it will get the data where you need it. And you should not move away from this window. Like if you are moving away from this window, you're using it wrong. Now there's a Claude Code desktop app that was just released yesterday, like the new version. It's pretty good. You don't even have to use the terminal anymore. So feel free, if you're afraid of the terminal, feel free to go there. I have a lot of clients who are like that. But what really makes Claude Code powerful is two things. It's like, okay, you have the model, which is Claude, which is really smart and stuff. But as I said, what is good is you can connect it to other things. And we use a thing called MCP, which is Model Context Protocol. And after that, these are the hands of Claude. And then the skills are the recipes. They are like the workflows. And so what you do is you connect these things. You teach the brain how to use the tools. And that's basically how you're going to automate most of your work. So let's take these pieces one by one, explain what they are, and then show you how you combine them together. An MCP is Claude's hands. Claude made that image, by the way. It connects to whatever tool you do. So when you do SEO, that can be Ahrefs, for example. I don't think I've opened Ahrefs in the past 6 months. It could be Google Search Console so that you can cross over that data as well, because you guys know that the estimates on Ahrefs, they're not very accurate usually, so you want these numbers. It can be analytics, because everyone hates GA4. It can be your CMS, so it goes and fixes your website based on the data it got from this. It can be Notion. These presentations are on Notion. I run everything on Notion. It can be the Gmail from your client that asks what to do. And now you can start connecting this thing. Client's like, hey, I dropped my rankings. Oh, Claude Code, go check Ahrefs. Then check GSC, and then go update the website to fix this, right? That's the kind of way you need to think about how you're going to use Claude Code. And you should not leave your Claude Code window when that happens. So think about all the things you can connect. As I said, Ahrefs, GSC, data for SEO is a good one as well if you don't want to pay for the Ahrefs API. It's very expensive. Less good data, but cheaper. Your CMS, your databases, everything. Apify, if you've never heard of Apify, this is like a banger for, like, if you want to scrape anything on the internet, basically. You use that. And anything with an API, anything with a CLI, which is command line interface, that means terminal tools, or an MCP. Now, we talked about MCP connecting to your tools. Great. The problem is like the model has general knowledge, general word knowledge, but it doesn't necessarily know how to, like, if you ask ChatGPT how to do SEO, you probably just roll your eyes to the back of your head and you'll be like, that's fucking shit. So you have your way of doing this. And you need to teach the LLM to do that thing. And that's what skills do. You upload your brain to the LLM, you give it the login to your tools, and you're like, go, do it. And so you write it once, you run it forever. How do skills work? Let's go a little bit more nerdy here. Skills are basically text files. They're plain text. If you don't know code, you don't need to be afraid of this. Now, this looks like a crazy folder structure, but if you open Finder on your Mac, that's what this looks like, right? Let's calm down for a second. The skill.md is basically the master file that gives the high-level instructions of like what the workflow is going to be. So for example, a little bit later, I'm going to show you an on-page optimization workflow where it, as I said, uses Ahrefs, uses GSC, and goes and fixes the website. And so I explained the high-level version of that. But there is multiple sub-workflows within that. For example, using Ahrefs, like which which tool are you using, which filters are you using, etc. Well, that's what you use the reference docs for. You basically write sub-workflows inside this, and then your skill.md just basically, it's like SEO. It's like a backlink back to that file. And you say, hey, when you need to use Ahrefs, you go read that documentation. What that does is that you don't need to write like 1,000 lines of text in your skill.md. That doesn't clog the context window of the model, and it goes and reads the information just in time, which means it's fresh in the context window, and it's more likely to do the job correctly. The next thing that is quite important is skills, is scripts. And that's when you can start bringing in programming together with instructions. So you see we have a .py, so .md is markdown, which means text files, basically, and .py is Python. And so what that means is like, let's say you want to do like a very ambitious SEO campaign and you want to analyze 100,000 pages from Ahrefs. Let's say you want to do that and you're willing to spend the 10 grand it's going to cost in API. Your LLM cannot do that. It cannot possibly process this much data. It's going to overload. And also the APIs tend to return very noisy data, so it needs to be filtered out, etc. However, what the LLM can do is it can write a Python script that will process that data, summarize it for it, and then it will create something that is manageable for its own context window. And so the point is you can make massively more ambitious workflows when you combine Markdown files and Python scripts. And that's when you don't need to write the script, the code, by the way. I never write the code. The LLM writes it for me. I just say, hey, make a script. We're going to do that. And it just does it, right? So, yeah, OK, this is what I just said, basically. So let's go for the first demonstration, because I think that's the most fun. And I'm going to explain what you're going to see, because it's not super obvious necessarily in the chat window. So I'm going to show you a skill that I have that's called on-page optimizer. And similar to like what we talked earlier, there's workflows that you follow. So this workflow, what it does is like I give it a web page on my website. It's going to use Ahrefs to see where I'm ranking right now. Then it's going to obviously see the keywords I'm ranking for or not ranking for. It's going to assign a main keyword and some sub-keywords, the same way you would manage your SEO campaign. It's going to determine who are the competitors in these SERPs that are the most competitive with me. It's the same kind of page, etc. It's going to scrape that content. It's going to do a gap analysis, try to understand what do they talk about that I'm not talking about, entities, all that stuff, etc. And then it's going to go on my website, on the code of my website, and basically propose me a bunch of changes. And if I say yes, it will just update my website, basically. And it can run on autopilot while I'm sleeping if I want to. It can run on a schedule. And what it does, not only that, OK, that's one round of change. But after it's done, it will log everything. So you say, hey, I was position 5. And this competitor was ranking above me, and I added these 3 pieces of information to the page. I'm hoping it's going to rank higher. What that does is when I run this skill a week later, I will read its own notes, and it will think like you think. It'll be like, hey, did the changes I do improve or regress my position? If it improved, I'm going to double down. If it's not, if it's actually doing worse, I'm going to actually try something else. And that's the point, it's acting like a human. So that's basically how it works. Scrapes the top 10, analyzes the gap, does the edits, and then logs everything. And then the memory loop, yep, it just basically, you have the hypothesis, you edit, it waits 1 or 2 weeks, it measures, and then it adapts. Let's do a live demo and show you how it works in actual Claude Code. So I have 2 versions. I have one that I already ran in case everything, oh, actually, I'm not on the Wi-Fi, right? Oh, I'm on my phone, it's fine. And I have one, and the thing is like, because our site is pre-built, oh, never mind, let me just run this. Our site is built on basically on Claude Code as well. Claude can edit the copy, basically. So the point is, what I'm showing you here, and I'm going to use... the point is that what I did is I ran this command that I said on-page optimizer, and I gave it a blog post. I'll show you. I wrote a blog post literally just for this, just for testing it. So I think it's the MCP one. Yeah, this one. So this is a blog post that was written by Claude Code, whatever. And what it did is it understood everything. It was like, let me just grab the part. OK, it uses the Ahrefs MCP. It checks if it has access. It actually checked for, it picked like a target keyword for it using Ahrefs. Let me just, actually, I'm not in the right place. OK, it did it after. Let me actually show you what Ahrefs stuff comes out, but it's not super easy to see in a new app. Yeah, here you go. So this is the Ahrefs data that it pulls. So for example, SERP overview, you can see all the Ahrefs data is just feeding into the model, right? So it's like it's actual real data, not hallucinated, not like, oh, what is the search volume, etc. So the point is it reasons on that real data. And you can see that it just answers to me, so I'm gonna make this a bit wider. I'd say, hey, these are the guys ranking, and then it actually like listed the different sections and who has what for each page and where we're missing, where we have content gaps and everything. And then it told me like, you know, your word count, the title, whatever, meta description, FAQs, like the schema as well, how many links, internal links. It's like, hey, I think we should do 3 new sections, where Claude Code stores your MCP setup, 3 ways to connect Claude Code to MCP, and fixing common MCP problems. And that's basically just on reading the competitor's content, right? The point as well is I have this connected to a scraper, to Apify that I mentioned. So if I wanted, it could actually go on YouTube and watch videos about the topic so that it gets content that's not in the SERPs, so that we can achieve real information gain here, not just repeat what's on the competitors' pages. So I do that. I scrape TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube usually. And the idea is like, find something that's not yet on Google, and then update your page with that. And so it did that. And so like now I basically stopped at the point where I was like, hey, do you want me to do it? So I'd be like, do it. And in principle, if my internet works properly, this page is going to start updating with basically everything. It's just going to start doing the work, knowing that I also have a skill to write blog posts, which is why there's no M-dashes here. It writes like me, etc. It has a little bit of personality. And the point is it's going to call the right skill automatically, and it's going to start basically editing the website for me. So you can see the page is starting to refresh, and it's just starting to work on its own. And the point is I can run this skill basically when I'm sleeping, and I have pending changes that I can approve at the end. Like when I wake up, I can say yes, no, basically. And then it just gives me the report on that. So that's the on-page skill. But you can do many other things with Claude Code. OK, this is a weird view of my presentation, but OK. Here's another example that I ran, which is keyword research. Again, pretty easy. The way I used to do keyword research when I used to do keyword research was always competitor-based. I was like, if they rank, maybe I can rank, right? And then I see their metrics. That's pretty much anything else was bullshit to me. I still believe that. So I built it into Claude Code, right? I just basically gave it, you start it, you give it 5 competitors, and it just checks their top pages on Ahrefs. Then it filters, it thinks like an SEO. So it's like, it understands my website, and it's like, hey, is that going to help them get clients, this keyword or not? If not, just it's filtered out. If yes, it's retained. Then obviously I have keywords, so I can check the SERPs of these keywords, which finds more competitors, which finds more top pages, and it just loops and loops and loops forever. And eventually, what you get is you get a topical map or keyword research thing. And for example, you will see that Claude makes it in full HTML for me here, like that was for local plumber. It prepares all the hubs. It groups everything. And if I click on one, you can see all the data, all the SEO data is basically organized. I also have CSVs that I can pass to Claude to actually do the work. So imagine combining this with the blog writing, with the on-page, with everything, basically. You can automate everything. Let me check the next one. Yeah, that's the example I run here. Here's another example. This is not SEO. This is how I run my meta ads. And again, I'm not going to run these skills because it's not very interesting to look at the chat, so it's more interesting to look at the diagrams. But the point is you give it a landing page of the product you're going to basically promote. And what it does is it goes on that landing page, it scrapes the CSS to understand your brand colors, your logo, etc. It scrapes the page, obviously understands what you do, it interviews you based on your goals like an agency would do. It does some customer role play. So it actually spawns a sub-agent that pretends to be the customer. It thinks about all the problems and issues they have with the product. It does market research, and it comes up with a strategy and a campaign plan. And eventually it uses Nano Banana to make, like the image model I'm using here, to make the creatives and gives you the full campaign, basically. And so I think I have some examples. Yeah. So I took the Ahrefs. I did it for Tim, just because I wanted to annoy him. And it's like they have their AI content helper. And so this one actually brainstormed that people get frustrated with SEO tools because they get this score. They get like a 90 score and they don't end up ranking. Like that's what always happens. And so the model did the role play as the customers, came up with that objection, and then came up came up with these kind of angles with the Ahrefs branding, with everything. And that's like a meta ad squared one that you would run, basically. But like most SEOs sell you a score and pray that you don't check the math, we publish ours. Or like my content scores green and doesn't rank. Am I the problem or is my data? And that kind of stuff. And that is also based on popular ad formats. So like the Apple Notes one is a very popular one. And so like the AI generated all of this in one shot, basically. It generates the entire campaign with multiple angles and everything, and you can just A/B test whenever you want. Let me see, I have some other examples. Oops, wrong one. Notion. Yeah, and many other things I do this way. So technical SEO and audit and fix, super easy, especially when you vibe code your website. GSC audits, article generation, you can still give it personality if you spend a lot of time on it, though. It's like, it takes a lot of work. Content gap analysis, meta ad campaign I showed you. Newsletter, I actually did one for Flow Agency, actually, before I came. I just gave you the website. I wrote a full newsletter like The Hustle, but as Viola, basically. So, and he put a CTA for getting a free audit. But the point is, these are, sure, but these are actually decent stories if you read them, right? They're not terrible. Like, okay, you could give it some feedback, but I think it reads fine. I think people would probably receive that and be okay with it. And these are things people talk about, basically. Social post and community and LinkedIn, etc. Yep, my social schedule is basically run by Claude Code. Community posts, I wanted to show you how I run my Notion. Like the way I run our community, literally Claude Code makes all the tickets, so it prepares all the answers for me. It's connected directly into Notion. It pulls all the data, and I give it tasks. So if I look at my inbox, like I mostly interact with Claude, and I just give it tasks like a coworker, basically. So at this point, you can run your entire company, your entire business, your entire SEO with Claude Code. And that was kind of the point. I don't have a final slide. This is it.